my thanks to Leopold and Jesse. That was a very from the heart speech, and honestly, I found it to be extremely touching. And actually, I don't have the best memory, as my wife constantly reminds me. But I do remember our two meetings. I remember the meeting at the Cultural Center, and I remember that you had splatterings of paint all over you. And I said to myself, you know what? Leopold can't be such a bad guy because he's obviously a hands-on guy. And I remember the second meeting actually very well, where he came with Jesse and introduced Jesse, who was, as he is now, dressed very nice in a suit. And then he reminded me that Jesse is a championship boxer, which I took as Emil, you need to know your limits, make sure you tread carefully. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. For many reasons, this is a moment that I wanted to share with my friends, my family, and colleagues. Without a doubt, being recognized and appreciated as a valued member of our community by a group like the St. Maarten Grassroots People's Movement is wonderful. Many thanks to Leopold and Jesse and the rest of the movement. But in my opinion, this isn't the real story here tonight. There's a much more interesting story to tell. Up to about 3 or 4 years ago, Leopold James and Emil Lee would have been perceived, as you indicated in your speech, as polar opposites, perhaps even as adversaries or enemies. But then in 2012, I gave a speech as SHTA president about the inevitability of change, the need for innovation, and the paralysis that accompanies fear. And in this speech, without any commentary on their messages, I commended several people for having the courage to be constant, vocal advocates for change, and this included Leopold James. Well, this initiated a series of chain reactions, and with Karen Hanna's assistance, a couple of meetings between SHTA and the St. Maarten Grassroots People's Movement were organized. These meetings generated, to begin with, mutual understanding, which in turn blossomed into mutual respect, and has now blossomed even further into friendship. And we've learned a few valuable lessons. Number one, complete agreement is unrealistic and boring. While we will not agree on everything, I mentioned that I love my wife, we have a beautiful son together, our futures are inextricably linked together. And even then, we do not agree on everything. So agreeing on everything is unrealistic, boring, and should not be a barrier to cooperation. So we agreed that on some points, we will agree to disagree. 2, our paths are actually very much aligned, especially chronologically. And what I mean by that is when we sat and really examined our paths to success and our concerns, such as caring for the interests of all residents of St. Maarten, protecting the island's environment, culture, and heritage, good governance, integrity, and transparency, there's so much that we agree on. And even more interestingly, the areas where we might have philosophical differences come chronologically far after the points where we have consensus. And the third point was, there is a value in cooperation. There is a value in association and working together. The more we spoke, the more we found that we shared a passion for the island. We both believed the path to making St. Maarten a happier and more prosperous island rests in honest dialogue, partnership, good governance, and practical solutions. So the real story here tonight is, imagine if Leopold James and Emil Lee can find common ground and work together for the best interest of St. Maarten. We all can. Change is inevitable. We need to have an open mind and the courage to learn and to adapt. And as long as your interests are truly for a better St. Maarten, then we should all be able to find common ground and a way to work together. I'm proud to accept this offer of the St. Maarten ID Card and gladly accept my role as an agent of change. Thank you very much all for being here.
Before we handle the card to you, Emil, final word. Talking about change. If anyone, Emil, a number of years ago would have told me that you and I would be sharing the same podium I would have considered that. Much less that we would have become friends, fellow St. Martiners. I would have said, "You madman." But then again, look at us here today. Because we manage to embrace change. In a way, I'm sure that will create a positive paradigm shift in the future of our very complex but dynamic society. It's an honor, Emil, to hand out to you, and I hope I help you. It's an honor to hand out to you, Emil, our card. Yes. And I hope you are willing to accept it. For us, you are a valuable contributor to the process of St. Maarten Nation building. And we are so happy that you're willing to accept the card. We hope that you will, we're sure you will carry it with pride